So there's a way we have previously spoken about Africa's problems that might actually be flawed. There might be a selfishness problem or a love problem on the continent. In the issue of patriotism, it's not just emotional kind of love, it's a responsibility kind of love. But many of these things that we accuse other people of, we're also guilty of it. Because I believe that behind every functioning system, there should be a genuine concern for the well-being of humans. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. The conversation here covers different industries that encourages us to build Africa by ourselves, for ourselves, and then the rest of the world. My name is Oduayo, and today the focus is it's not conventional, it's not what you would expect. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Alright, so if you saw my previous video, I basically covered the landmass of Africa and why it seemed as though Europe and Asia developed faster than the other parts of the world for geographical reasons, right? But I mean, it did not end there. I also went further to talk about how we cannot continually dwell in this or wallow in the fact that we have a disadvantage, a geographical disadvantage. But if America can do it, it means we can do it as well. So there's a way we have previously spoken about Africa's problems that might actually be flawed. Let's talk about the poor healthcare, the bad roads, the corruption, and just these negative things on the continent. But I took a step back this week and I just tried to understand or to assess what could be the reason for this. And it's very simple. While you might not agree with me, I think you should just listen to the end. I think there might be a selfishness problem or a love problem on the continent. And the reason why I came to that conclusion is because I don't think we care deeply about each other. And it's not the romantic kind of love or the emotional kind of love. I think it's as little as just assessing the situation of things and just trying to understand how it affects, benefits the other person. I'm afraid that we might have gotten to the point where we are all out for ourselves. I mean, it's good to look out for yourself, but if looking out for yourself is at the detriment of the other person or of your neighbor, it is slowly becoming selfishness. And so even though there are so many problems in Africa, poor health system, bad roads, corruption, and a host of other things, I believe that the root cause of all of these things is just selfishness and the lack of love for one another. But what exactly is this love that I'm talking about? And like I stated earlier, it's not just this emotional kind of love that people expect. Oh, I love this person. I mean, you love your family, you love your friends, right? But in the issue of patriotism, it's not just emotional kind of love. It's a responsibility kind of love. It's not merely how you feel, but how you behave, right? Understanding that your actions or inactions directly impact somebody else. And again, I'm not telling you to pick somebody else over yourself, but it's just the basic human decency whereby we do things and we don't even consider the other person or how it affects or not or implicates the other person. Just imagine a society where people stop caring about the impacts of their actions. They just do it for just doing. A classic example is sustainability. We consume things and we dump the wrappers of these things on the road in our drainage system. Rain falls, it clogs our water system, and this causes flooding that affects the homes of so many people. And maybe it's not even selfishness in the fact that, oh, I know that I'm actually being selfish, but it's just ignorance on our part. We don't really think far into who and what our actions can affect. We just do things because they're convenient or because this benefits me at this point in time. So now let's make this practical. Is there a connection between love and development? The other day I was going to the island, passing through Thread Mainland, and it was a very windy day. And I realized that the lights that they fixed in the middle of the road was actually bending over. Everybody knows that when people fix things, when roads are fixed, specifically speaking to Nigeria, because that's where I currently live, and everybody knows that when things are fixed, they're usually done with inferior materials. Because if you do it with good materials, it's going to last. And if it lasts long, you will not be contracted again to come and deliver the same job. And as silly as this thing sounds, that's how many people think. That's how many of us think. In my previous video, I mentioned how we don't build systems that would outlive us. We just want to do things that would benefit us or keep benefiting us while we're still on the surface of the earth. And this is selfishness ingrained. Because imagine that traffic light falling or collapsing on somebody's car, somebody's vehicle, and causing accident on the bridge. At that point, I'm not even sure the person would be empathetic enough to think, oh, it is my action that has caused it. And at that point, maybe everybody will be blaming the government. And maybe they do have a hand in this, but they're not doing it. They're literally not the ones that mounted the pole. Again, what if love and development have something in common? What if there's a connection between both? Because imagine a contractor using inferior materials, a civil servant taking bribes, or a business owner knowingly selling harmful products just because they want to fill their pockets. And before you look high up, I think it's time for us to actually look within ourselves, because many of these things that we accuse other people of, we're also guilty of it. Because I believe that behind every functioning system, there should be a genuine concern for the well being of humans. Development is actually organized care. And the system that we build, they are love translated into structures, if you actually think deeply about them. Healthcare is the society caring for the sick. Education is the society caring for the future. Infrastructure is society caring for movement and opportunity. And our justice systems are society caring about fairness. It's in the basic and the littlest of things, actually. And one of the greatest dangers facing any society is individualism, when we're all about, oh, me, myself, the people that I love, my family, my friends, and all of that. And we refuse to just look at the other person and just see what they're going through, and in the littlest way that we can, maybe just make them or help them feel better. I mean, I know that there's little to what we can do, but I think the heart is also very important. And there's a mindset that says, as long as I'm okay, everything is good. Everything is not good, because if it can happen to this person, it can also happen to the next person to you. And maybe that's why our society has not actually thrived. Maybe that's why we're not building systems in our education, in tech, in media, in entertainment, in the financial sector. Maybe that's why we're not building systems, because we're just living for the now. Maybe even the survival part of our living is not because of what we've gone through or because of lack, but because we just want to satisfy ourselves alone. How long are we actually going to continue like this? And honestly, everything relies on trust. Economies rely on trust. Policies rely on trust. Businesses rely on trust. Because if a business tells you, oh, okay, this thing is good for your health, it does this and this and this and this, you're trusting. You don't necessarily need to know the person or the people that have put that product together, but there is just a trust in your heart because they have written it down, and you just trust that, okay, I trust that what you have said here is what is obtainable. And trust is one of the most valuable assets that a nation can possess. And in this case, that Africa can possess. Everything runs on trust. And you don't even need to know me. I don't need to know you. But imagine we having policies, and there is not, you cannot even trust that, okay, when this happens, as long as I know my rights, I am safe. It's not the case. It doesn't matter how much you know. Because tell me why there are policies that are not even securing people's lives. Tell me why these things are put in place, but then we cannot guarantee that, okay, when I need this thing, I'll always find it there. Take, for example, franchise. We say there is the right, we have the right to vote and be voted for, basic human rights. But then you're not even free. There's no freedom to go to the polling unit to cast your votes without fear of being attacked or something. Everything actually hinges on trust. If you tell me I have the right to do this, I trust that when I want to carry out my right, you would allow me to do it freely. But then selfishness has been so much ingrained in our system that even when it is properly or clearly stated, I don't trust you enough to actually carry out what I think is my right. We have a lot of work to do. And before we start talking about how we can build structures, okay, in tech, in health sector, I want to trust that when you tell me that this product is this, I want to hold your word for it. I want to be able to check your word for it and believe that, okay, it is exactly as you have said. And it doesn't even need to get to a high level. It is as little as your interaction with your neighbor. It is little. And so if we're going to actually fight corruption or this in this country, we have to get rid of that selfish mentality. Because, like I said, there is a huge connection between love and development. When there is love, there is trust. And in the case where there is trust, I'm able to hold on to your word. Even in a professional setting, even in a political setting, even in an educational setting. Because you have given me your word that this is what this thing is. And so trust you and then go ahead to carry it out because of your word that I've received. I want us to actually bring this closer to home. What would it look like in governance? Maybe leaders making decisions that are for the betterment of the people in the long run, not just for their short-term benefits. What would it look like in business? It would look like building products and services that genuinely improve the lives of people. People are just quick to cut corners just for their own personal gain. I get it. Certain things have happened that have pushed us to this point. But I think we need to start reacting differently. What would it look like in education? What would it look like in healthcare? What would it look like in tech, in technology? What would it look like in politics? What would it look like in business, in different works and aspects of our lives? I'll tell you, it will look like not only asking what can you get, but on the flip side, what can you actually contribute? And it is important that I mention that development is not built by isolated individuals, but by people who care deeply enough to think beyond themselves. I understand the importance of investment and technology, but how about you know that character is also important and trust is equally as important? How about we begin to choose service over selfishness and stewardship over short-term gain? What would it cost you to actually use original material such that that project would actually last long? I think we have a corrupted lens through which we view things. And I think it's time to actually introspect and assess. And maybe love is not a soft idea after all. It is one of the most practical forces of human development. There is a connection between love and development. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, please drop a comment, share it with someone. Let me know what you think and also this perspective to this situation. How would you as an individual do things differently? Even in your little corner, even in your sphere of influence. Because honestly, the top is important, but the grassroots is equally important. I'll see you in my next video. Until then, bye.